What?
I never went live.
You
I
were
never went
no.
live. I never went live. I didn't.
You
I wasn't
were
live
live.
for the last. No, I don't think so. The stream was coming in, but I didn't actually connect this up to YouTube until 30 seconds ago. I apologize. That sucks. I just noticed chat. Hey Morph.
Oh.
Hi everyone. So I screwed up because there's a little blue go live button on YouTube, which I forgot to click. Everything else was connected. I was sending out data, and yeah. So we're gonna have to do this. We're gonna have to rewind all the way back to the beginning of the episode because everyone, we're gonna give it to you. We need to talk about. God.
Oh.
Sorry, everyone. That's my mistake. I screwed up.
No. This is Saturday night.
Saturday nights.
This is our technical Saturday night.
Yep.
So it's not
This
a
is
screw
true.
up. This is entirely within the planning.
That was called rehearsal.
Exactly.
We have to go through this again.
Now that we've gotten it down pat, we
Right.
just have to remember the points that we brought up.
Yes.
Damn.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Apologies. Like I said, we had some. No, we didn't have technical difficulties. I didn't click a button. But
Still
we're
a
here
technical
now.
issue.
Yes. We're here to talk about episode 13 of Serial Experiments Lane again. Because, my gosh, this episode, this show.
So amazing, so incredible. We have to do this twice.
Exactly.
To get it in.
So anyway, let's get into it. So
Oh my god.
we have to cut at some point. Are we going to do the intro now, or are we going to do what? I need to know. Like,
Well, let's just
You
start
ready?
from the salient points. Let's go.
Okay, all right.
Let's just do it again.
welcome everyone. Welcome everyone. We're going to watch. We're going to talk about episode 13 of Serial Experiments Lane. Because my gosh, this show. We're going to dig in because there's a lot to talk about. Yeah. Wait. What was that, Captain Laser Eyes? Are you saying we were live? Because everyone was saying the stream was canceled and we're having no stream, or what's going on? And there was no go live button. Like the go live button was not on my side. So hold on. And we'll see what's going out here. Going on
You guys actually went for 20 minutes, and I didn't know you were live? Question mark. Not
Okay, we weren't live. Okay, gotcha. Okay,
Okay.
fair enough. All right, cool.
Okay.
We'll get there if it takes us all damn night. Welcome everyone to episode 13 of Serial Experiments Lane that we're going to dig into right here and now. It's been a wild night.
Oh
and,
my god, we had our own reset.
We did! Yes!
We just did.
We just had our own reset.
Oh my god.
And wait a minute.
So we're
what
gonna-
day is this, and what time is it?
Present day.
Hey.
Present
Present
time.
Oh god.
All right. So this episode does not start the way this show has been starting. We start just with Lain staring directly at us, asking us who she is and whether she is real because, what is me? Who am I? What is this me that is talking to you right now? Which is definitely a memorable thing to see on the screen.
Well, I mean, also for episode 13, this is the last time you're going to get to see Lane kind of sort of like this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like this is the finale is finally coming here. So it's like, thank you.
Yep.
And for added creep factor for you guys, if you haven't seen the last episode yet, watch it on a big screen TV
Okay.
in the dark. In the dark, total darkness, and just this, and then when her face appears, you're just gonna go, no, please, yeah,
Yeah.
please let me keep my soul.
Exactly. And you're right,
So
Morph.
you won't remember
That
anything
goes.
about it. So
Exactly. Exactly.
Oh,
Scrubbed.
reset.
And then we get our opening credit sequence all the way through. And we get to think about that a little bit. And we were talking about, we have this interesting thing where it's a lot of anime, like the beginning of the episode will have kind of the first few minutes of the previous episode is kind of a reminder. And we get that, I think, for the first time in the show. We had kind of that, like you said, that kind of music video a couple episodes ago. But this is literally, cutting back to what we saw before. And
Which I think the AMV was like a recap.
Yeah.
This is
Right.
just that snippet to be like, let's dial back into like the horror that we had
last week.
right before the end of last week. And
Remember-
now here's the fresh horror.
And remember the nightmare fuel we gave you last week? Well, here's the continuation.
And
Just for
here's
tonight.
how's it goes.
Exactly. Yes. Because we were talking before about how Alice is screaming the entire time. That's basically all we see. We just kind of fade away from Eri getting all smashed. But now we get a whole sequence with Alice, and Alice is freaking the F out.
Yeah.
Yeah, really bad, and to the point where like she kind of lashes out when Lain tries to reach for her, and even just hits her across
Right.
the cheek. Now, what do we think that means? That sort of mark.
Well, I had thought when we discussed this without broadcasting, shh, don't say that. That it's the cliche is you hurt the one you love, and that Lain feels that she's hurt Alice so much. So in like rumors, we've seen like the kind of damage that can happen when things get out on the wired about people's lives, and that Lain feels this guilt about having hurt Alice, and in Alice, she's freaking out.
Yeah.
But that she doesn't mean to strike out at Lain, but she ends up hurting Lain
Right.
accidentally.
Yeah.
So now it's kind of an eye for an eye that Lane's hurt Alice. Alice is inadvertently but still hurt Lain. So now it's like trying to readjust how they're interacting in this world. So.
Yeah. I like that.
Also, I feel that it's a way for Lain to snap back to what's going on around her. So Lain is really focused on just obliterating area at this point.
Yep.
And so then it's done. The deed is done. She's like, "Hey, look, we got it." And Alice is just like, totally losing it and flailing basically, and just hits Lain.
Yeah.
Scared of Lain, actually, she's terrified of Lain at this point. And then Lain is just kind of slapped. It's just like just like, oh yeah, crap.
Yeah.
Everything's really bad right
Yeah.
now.
Exactly. And as Morph is putting on the chat room, body contact. Right.
Right.
It's that whole thing again. Body contact is good. So sometimes it's not.
Yeah.
You could also relate this back to Rurouni Kenshin and the cross-shaped scar on the cheek. I don't know if we'd had all the backstory to that, because this does very much tie into Kenshin and kind of the themes of that. And the anime came out in '95, I think. So I'm not sure if like the manga had gotten to that point yet. It's I think volume 20 of the manga before we get to the backstory. I don't know.
Yikes! Wow.
Yeah, it's a long manga. But getting back to the joy that is Lain. Lain then embraces Alice, and Alice just is gone. She just goes limp, and
She's had a day.
she's had all the days.
Yeah.
And that's where we get.
Because ultimately, and in that shot, Ares' manifested corpse is lying entombed in that pile of machinery. Like, oh yeah, that's a lot to handle right there.
Yep, very much so. Yeah, Alice.exe is not working.
And Alice is wearing red.
Yeah. Yep.
I want to so know whether that red shift, blue shift is real. Like whether
Makes
it's
sense
just
to me.
something strange, or were they like, yes, we put that in there for you, the audience.
They
to
will
use."
never tell you.
I know. That's the sucky part about it.
And here's where we get the all reset. And we already got the reset once. We know what this means, but now we get an all reset, a complete reset. Because as you guys are saying, now Lain realizes, oh, I can't do this in half measures. We have to go back and completely change everything. And so we get episode 1 again. shot for shot, scene for scene.
Which it does make me wonder, where is Eri?
Well, we see him later on.
Eri the God. When Lain resets everything and leaves Alice kind of alone, and so that Alice has these memories, but everybody else is kind of like sort of slightly reset.
Okay.
Eri still is in there. You know what I mean? It's like Lane's reset at the time doesn't pull him out of there.
Okay, can we wait until we get to that and we can see what's actually going on? Because the audience doesn't know that yet.
Well, I know I was talking about the other episodes, so like further back.
Okay.
Like why, when she did the reset and didn't reset Alice, why didn't she like grab Eri, grab Yasuo, grab everybody else, and then fiddle with things?
How do you know she?
You know what I mean? And that's what I would think, that if she had done the first reset and picked like specific actors, that she might have been able to stop Eri from popping up there and freaking Alice the hell out.
I don't think she would have known at that point.
Yeah, that's hard to know.
Yeah. I don't think she would have known at that point to do that, because I don't think she was.
Why would, in erasing people's memories of Alice's teacher, would Lain decide to change?
That's a good point.
Yeah.
She was looking for a very specific thing,
right?
Versus like a global like, let's just remove 2 or 3 people from this, and then this should solve things. I gotcha. But that kind of like kicked in the back of my mind. Like,
I hear you.
Reset the first time. It's just a point of this crap.
Yeah. And I think
again, we wouldn't have this.
Right. And I think that is kind of the point, is she realizes, everything's connected. Like, there are follow-on things.
Right.
But yeah, we get episode 1 again. And
do you think she learned? Like this episode is Lane's learning, having made the mistake with Alice the first time, and that she now has like sat down and comprehensively planned out what she's going to do for the all reset. You know what I mean? Like,
so are you saying that when she does the all reset, she already has a plan?
I'm sort of, because it didn't work when she did the reset to try and stop the teacher's memory with Alice. Like, Alice was still in the loops. Alice still was confused about what's going on. So now that Lain is doing the all reset, is this the Lain that has learned, I now understand more of the parameters of what's going on in the Wired and what the specific thing I'm trying to do, I have to do it more globally?
Yes.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's why she's doing an all reset.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I think it's
I think it's yes and no, because it's yes, she understands that she has to do everything differently,
right?
And that when she does the reset, she understands that she has to do it all, but she doesn't in the moment. Like we were before we realized that we were not live. We were talking about, going from node to node, to use what we were talking about earlier, from node to node to node. I didn't get that. This is kind of where I was telling you guys before we went on.
Before reset,
yeah. I'm going to pull a little bit of an Oshi here. I think it was all instantaneously. I don't think there was this progress. I don't think it took time. I think it was instantaneous. I think it's instantaneously. And as we, go to the end, and I'll give my theory that will be told that I am wrong.
Okay.
I'll wrap it up there, but I think it's more along that Lain is more omnipotent than I think people realize. I think she is a goddess at this point.
Yeah.
And so she's got basically her processing power by this point in time means that she's not mapping out necessarily in advance by like a long period of time. It's like, nope, I'm omnipotent. I know all this stuff, so I can do this like that.
Well,
kind of a snap moment.
Omnipotent versus omniscience. Like, right? Those are 2 different things. So,
omnipotent, because she goes through that we haven't talked about yet.
Yeah, but
we'll lead to that.
And I hear what you're saying. I think she's omnipotent, but not necessarily omniscient.
Yeah.
Right? Like, so, but yeah, we'll see. So we get episode 1 again. And what's interesting here is that they are replaying shots from episode 1 without Lain in them. And here's the thing from an animation perspective. That's not trivial to do. You can't just go back, because these are like panning shots. They're moving around. You can't just, slurp something out of that. You have to literally refilm it with those backgrounds, redo the same camera takes, just without the foreground cells of the character. So this is not cheap. This is not like,
Right.
oh, it's easy to redo this. They had to like literally reshoot the scenes. And and we get the famous shot of the front door with no lane there.
Which again, this is what I said. The audio is so like not there at that moment where I thought there was no audio.
Okay.
I'm just like, it's very quiet except for the hum.
Yeah.
I'm like, what's going on?
Yeah. The omnipresence of the wired.
Or could the hum be Lane?
Well, I think we've heard the hum all the way through.
Yeah, if the
Right.
hum is the wired,
Yeah.
really, by this point in time,
Yeah.
13th episode, the wired is late.
Yeah, and we certainly hear the tonality of the hum change. So it's possible that now this is the wired with Lane, added on to it, so to speak. And so
Lane at the reins,
Yep.
if you will, controlling
Right.
something. Nato, love it.
And so here we see the family, sitting around the dinner table, or the breakfast table rather, with one empty seat, just sitting there, and it's just a normal family sitting around the table.
Yeah, I wonder why wouldn't you show Mika?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the mother is
That is
Miho.
odd.
Is that the mother's
I
name?
think so.
Yasuo Miho. We hear Mika, as Steve had pointed out in the pre-show, and we see her hands, and but we don't see her. She is noticeably like, "Yep, I'm out here," and we don't see her. So we just see Yasuo and Miho sitting there, having their breakfast, with obviously no fourth child, but a spot there. It's like, I wonder why Mika doesn't show up in this then.
Yeah, it's very strange. And that could just be they didn't want to focus on Mika, and just kind of distract from the moment.
Just establish that she seems like normal and then move on with the story.
Yeah, it could
It's
be. I don't
possible.
know.
Easily.
Yeah. We do see Yasuo look over for a moment, as though he's remembering something, but it's just not quite there. Huh.
Yeah.
Moves on. But yeah, and then even the door opens, and so I think Lane is actually going back through her day. She's going through a normal day the way she would, and she's checking everything all the way down. Because we even get the, here we go. Here's the train, the whole sequence. Again, I had to reshoot the entire thing. And then we even get the intro to school with the same beginning of it. And even the shadow coming in, which before was all the weird splotchy redness, and it pans up to Lane, but this time it is Alice with a totally normal shadow. Because everything's apparently normal again. And even Alice talks to her friends, and she remembers something, but she can't quite get it.
Which they do mention Siberia.
They do.
So
Yep,
Siberia is
still there.
still extant, but it's like at that moment, it's like, okay, is this the weird Siberia intersection between the wired and reality, or is this what is this? And then I'll tell her about it. Who's her? Like, oh, okay.
And I think she
Gotcha.
means, if we can, Chisa. And we get to see Chisa walking to school.
Still
Still
plummeting down 10 stories onto a
Yeah.
which
I mean, and
sign.
And it's interesting, the reset that Lane's doing, it didn't make Chisa happy.
No.
No.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It's like we've seen Chisa in the series regrets that she gave
Right.
her physicality, but it didn't mean in the reset time. And it's like, oh, I'm so giddy and happy to be alive. It's like, no, she's obviously still not that happy.
Well, the way I read into that particular little scene was that Lane created this situation for Alice to notice Chisa, so that Alice would go to Chisa as Alice went to Lain.
Gotcha. Right. I like that a lot.
She substituted herself for Chisa.
Yeah. Or Chisa for herself. Yeah. Yeah. I like that a lot. Makes total sense. There is a moment, and actually that answers the thing, because the moment where Alice says, "Oh, that makes sense." I just realized that your explanation makes that fit much better, because I originally thought that makes sense meant oh, Lain must have reset everything and fixed everything. I'm good to go. But if she's basically responding to her friend saying, "Oh yeah, I was thinking of Chisa,"
right?
That totally fits.
Who her? Chisa.
Right.
Oh, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, cool. That it all comes together. Everything makes sense now.
But it still does. I mean, to your initial comment, it still does show that little sort of wrinkle.
Yeah, totally.
Because she doesn't say, "Oh, we should invite Chisa." She says we should invite her. And then it's like there's that moment of like her who? Her Chisa. Oh yeah, that makes sense. It's like but there's that wrinkle. There's like a little bit of something going on in Alice's
Absolutely.
mind. So.
And it's we talk about distortion in the Wired throughout the series, of this idea that information doesn't flow perfectly. One of my favorite sort of programming things is the fact that if something goes wrong with your data and you're trying to figure out what's going on with your data, all data on a computer is stored as bits, literally on and off, magnetically or electronically, whatever. But the way you store that isn't exactly, it's basically like an electrical charge or a magnetic charge. If you go from, full on and you switch that off, it doesn't actually go all the way off. It'll go to like 20%, and then up to like 80%, and then down to like 25%. And if you have the right tools, you can actually tell what the value used to be. Because of how it's moved around, this was 1, it stayed at 1, and it's pushed up, or it's recently been gone down to 0, so forth and so on. And it's a great example of how, we think of digital technology as being kind of, here's the file, and here's the data in the file. Well, there's actually some noise in there as well,
Right.
But yeah, totally.
There's a lot of digital fingerprints that lie around that nobody really particularly is aware of if they're not really immersed into the environment.
They say that there are 1 or 2 blue screens of death a month from Windows are caused by ray muon particles from the sun.
Huh. Wow.
Yep. They just hit memory in exactly the wrong spot and cause a bit to flip and corrupt something and causes one of the bazillion Windows computers on the planet to freak out.
That's why I've been arguing for making lead shielded computers.
Exactly.
Nobody believes
I agree. And I know. Crazy. Anyway, moving on. We then get to see Taro, Mew Mew, and the other kid.
Friend number 3.
Third wheel, I think is.
Third wheel. Yep.
And they're outside, not in Siberia, playing on the street, and quite happy, like skipping and playing. It's another thing I kind of noticed is that when they're in Siberia, they're all kind of bored, and they're always just kind of hanging out, but just kind of whatever. And they seem very cheerful in this scene.
Yeah. They seem like kids.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, actually, they play rock, paper, scissors.
They do. Yep. Rochambeau. Definitely.
John, Ken, Wong.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
There you
go. I agree with you, Morph. Chisa is probably happier now that she's not dead.
So many more opportunities when you're alive.
Exactly.
Yes.
But Taro gets, and he actually does a little skip there, which I think is kind of cool. But he gets a call on his. Now this Navi is a pistol grip, which is very interesting. John, you were saying there's something about this.
That it looks like a C-96 Mauser, which would have been a contract piece from Mauser to the Chinese nationalists prior to World War II.
Interesting.
So it would be a somewhat semi-familiar look. I don't know the significance of that, though.
Yeah.
Unless you're saying Siemens Technology, which was a German company that had extensive contracts with the Japanese during World War II. Yes,
wait,
that's
Siemens?
entirely possible. Siemens.
SIEMENS?
Yeah.
Yep, Siemens.
They're a major manufacturer of network technology.
Yes, they are.
Things.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's what I.
and
but
yeah,
that's
so
what
that could
I
be
don't
yeah.
know.
It's possible that when they got into computers too, and so
Yeah.
It's
But I mean, the grip, it looks like a Mauser. Now Mauser had licenses
okay.
for the bolt action technology. It included in the Springfield 1903 was basically a stolen technology that the U.S. government was paying Germany for quite a number of years because of that. But I don't know that the Arasaka was based on the Mauser. You know what I mean? It's like
Right,
I don't know the connection. Maybe the point is, like I said, Siemens had major contracts with Japan during World War II. Maybe this is supposed to remind you, oh yes, this kid's looking at a piece of technology, and the Germans and the Japanese had technology exchange to the degree possible.
Right.
It's like I don't know. I have no idea what the significance of his gun Navi being that design, but it is curious.
Yeah. Or it could be just that it's older technology because we reset to an older version of reality.
Right.
Who knows?
Right, unlike Lane's crazy pop-out ribbon cable monstrosity. So
Doesn't the reconstituted delivery guy say something to the effect of, "Oh yeah, I do a mod on my Navi. Did a mod on my Navi as well."
Yeah.
And he was supposed to be the big tech geek during the show.
Yeah.
So does this mean that Taro's abilities are dampened? Because Taro was a person that was considered for the Knights, and he held them out with stuff, and he was the go-to guy for Lain. And so maybe now that this guy who has the kid, and it's just like, oh, I used to have one of those. Maybe Taro's not as savvy as he used to be. Maybe Lain.
Well,
when Lain appeared, and she was going, I don't want you being.
Without
that curious.
Without Siberia, without the Psuge processor, those opportunities aren't available to him to dig into those things. Yeah.
Well, also if you pull Tachibana Labs out by the root,
wow.
you may ripple down effect to all these people who had these nodes of connection with the Knights and helping the Knights and delivering the technology here and there. It's like you rip that out by the roots, and it's like all of a sudden your delivery guy is not this Lothario for Housewives. He's just a older brother dragging his kid sister. Oh, kid sister or kid brother?
No, we'll see here in a second.
Daughter.
We'll see here in a second. Oh. I think sister. I think sister.
I thought it was kid sister.
I thought she called him daddy.
Maybe she did.
I don't know. Yeah. But definitely not the housewife wooer that he was in the original.
Not the suave and debonair of, hey,
exactly.
Would you like me to help you with your hard drive?
It's interesting. I had not thought about the idea of Tachibana Labs being erased.
Well, we don't ever see the head of Tachibana Labs. We've seen other characters in and around.
You're right.
But we don't see that dude again.
Wow.
So it's like, so what happens if Lain dialed it down? So she goes and she specifically affects the people that she knows, and then just rips the tree that is Tachibana Labs out.
Yeah, and that does not look like Copland OS. Now that you mention it, that looks kids technology. Now we haven't really seen his Navi in much detail, but it could be that just doesn't exist. Wow.
Yeah. Which I mean, think about it logically. It's like
totally.
If she just said, okay, Tachibana Labs, delete, that really does solve a lot of things.
It does. It totally makes sense. And if we have the idea of that ripple effect, if Tachibana Labs exists, there is a chance that they will create Lain at some point.
Right.
And so you need to kind of, like you say, to pull out from the roots. That's brilliant. But then, to your point, we then see both the little girl from Phantoma and the guy from the club alive and well and kicking.
Yep.
And walking
And you
around.
get a brief second of possibly Mika in the mask.
Huh? Where?
There was in the club scene. There is a brief, very, very nanosecond of of the waitress.
Yeah.
And we had thought, because one of the things when I went down that deep rabbit hole in that website, And someone posited the idea that the person in the gas, that the waitress in the gas mask was actually Mika.
Right.
Well, there's a shows up for a nanosecond.
Yeah.
Is and we don't see her at the table. Could that be Mika? I mean, could it really be Mika?
It could be.
And that's why we don't see her face.
Could be.
Could be.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that.
And again, to what end?
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like so much of this stuff is like some kind of meaning to it. It's like, to what end do we? Can we ascribe to that? Like,
right. And the DJ talking about the wrinkle. The DJ kind of has a quizzical look on his face as he looks up. When we see him, he's just kind of looking around, and that's when you get the little shot of the waitress, and then you get the the other shots inside the area.
Yeah. And in this, I find it interesting that they're showing you these characters are still alive. Like you could infer that obviously we've reset that they're still alive, but like no, all of these characters. And I also find it interesting if these two are related, then it's possible that if Gun Guy was badly corrupted by Siberia, when he then came home and then was around the little girl, that's how she was able to get around Phantoma and have the influence she did on the Wired, because that kind of bled over into her. Who knows? But yes.
Well, also, if you show all these people alive, that is one of those things like where you can get the conspiracy theorists to set to the side, be like, no, there's not any sort of unanswered questions. These people are alive and they're doing this thing,
right?
So we're good. Yeah. We're all good. It's good, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's possible. There's something else I wanted to mention.
Lenny and Squiggy.
It's gone now.
Well,
no, in this scene. In this sequence. Anyway. And then it should be noted that Lain does show up briefly on Taro's Navi, and he does not remember her at all. So we had some hints that some people remember her, but Taro, no, it's not there at all.
Yeah.
And then to your point, we get to see Dr. Airy, and I almost pumped my fist in the air when I saw this scene, because whatever power Lain has, this could just be, Airy's kind of default. But I love the fact that, if Lain is taking a more active part in the reset, she just kind of put Airy in his own personal hell. Of just this miserable salaryman going along, just hating life. I'm going to quit today.
No lab coat, no Fabio hair.
Right, exactly, yes.
Right.
No, he's not this whiz kid guru stuff. No, he's just an average schmo like the rest of us. I'm like, hey, cool.
Yeah. But he takes a weird interest in the guys.
Yeah.
In Lenny and Squiggy, the Men in Black.
Yep.
Former Men in Black. Working on the power lines. And he is kind of captivated by that.
It's interesting.
As if there's a germ of an idea, but then it just quickly goes away because he drank malt liquor that morning and he's very angry.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and again, like we've talked about, there are little kernels that are here and there that Lain cannot absolutely get rid of.
Right.
But by taking care of some of the root issues, that it just managed to cut off that route. So he might be looking at them thinking, oh, connectivity. Oh,
right.
That's that's amazing. Look what they're doing. They're getting everything wired up, getting everything going. Well, damn, my job sucks. Removed. He's got the kernel of there's things that could be greater, but you've removed from him that avenue to that future that was Lain.
But to your point, if Tachibana Labs has been erased, Airy isn't working at Tachibana Labs anymore.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's no lab coat and stuff. He is literally probably a dude sitting in a cubicle. It's delicious. It's a delicious ending for him. You're like,
he is working some sucky job somewhere. Yeah. Oh, what goes around comes around. But yeah, it is interesting. And again, in a show like Lain, that we have this that has been so weird and that has been so vague with us, that they're like, no, everyone's fine, everyone's back alive, everything's good.
Lain did the thing, and she did all of it. She didn't do part of it. She did the whole thing.
Yep.
I'm like, gotcha.
Yeah. And here's where we get present day, present time. And the laugh. And I finally figured out, like literally 2 hours ago, why the laugh is in here. Because every time up until now, this has been a joke because we have not been watching reality. We've been watching the original version that Lain erased. It has never been present day, present time. We are now actually looking at present day, present time.
Present time.
Oh, wow.
Exactly.
Oh, damn. I never thought of that.
Yeah. Yeah, everything up to this point is now just me.
Mm-hmm.
It's the past that isn't.
Yeah.
Right.
Doesn't exist anymore.
Oh. Damn.
Yeah,
I thought of
exactly.
that. Okay, cool.
And then we get what we normally get at the beginning of the episode of the cars and all that kind of stuff. No distortion visually, no distortion auditorially. Everything's back to normal. We do get a stop instead of a go.
Yep.
And thank you, Steve, for pointing this out, because that is definitely a symbol. Because Lain is stopped.
Yeah.
And we get Lain. And I love this shot. Because, boy, if this isn't symbolic of the entire show, this, and we've said before, this sort of odd, monochromatic city is very emblematic of The Wired. And Lain is this tiny little thing. Just a little dot in this vast universe. All alone.
Kind of like a nullscape.
Yeah.
Right.
But,
and she is miserable. Which is kind of weird. Because she won. She defeated Eri. She did exactly what she needed to do. Everybody's alive. Everybody's, going on about their lives. Why is she so miserable?
because they're going on with their lives without Lain.
Yeah, exactly. She's she's replaced Eri as God, basically, of the Wired. Though I'd argue that none of them are actually God; they're just kind of omnipresent.
Right.
And so she has the power, but the only way to fix it is to remove herself from reality. And now that she's done that, she kind of doesn't exist.
It's very lonely to be not anything,
Yeah.
I guess.
And then she is met by Blue Dress Lain.
Yeah.
And remember, Crazy Lain of the Wired is White Dress Lain.
Right.
So I think this is, in a sense, one of two things. It could either be kind of that software version of Lain that now was not corrupted by the experiences she had, or it's just Lain talking to herself, as she often does. It's just kind of that other side of yourself. Actually, I'm just reading a book where the guy talks about emotions as being the hot part of yourself, and your rationality being kind of the cold part of yourself, the cool part of yourself, and that your rationality is sort of like a cooling system for the hot part of your emotions. That your emotions kind of ramp up and ramp up and ramp up on their own, and that your rationality can serve as a cooling system for that, if you will. Imperfect analogy, but kind of helpful.
So the Lain in the white dress is the white hotness of
yes, and
of emotion,
yeah,
and the cool rational is blue that's coming in.
Yeah, those are the kind of two aspects of her personality that are kind of working through these issues. Again, I don't know if that's intentional here, but I think certainly this is suffering Lain and logical kind of thoughtful Lain talking to each other here, because she's working through this thing, and then we get this pull out of this city in a bubble.
Yeah. In nothing.
In nothing. Absolutely.
There's nothing around it.
And there have been quite a few, thoughts about this, and images of this. One is that this could literally all be happening in this little bubble of reality. Like the entire series is here. It's Angel's Egg, basically.
Right.
This is just this little cosmos that we're living in, or there's a representation of the Wired. That Lain has basically sliced off this little bit of reality for herself within the Wired that she's allowing herself to kind of exist in, but it is in nothingness.
Her own chat room.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this is where they had the argument where she decides she's miserable and she's trying to figure out who she is, and the rational Lain is going, but this is what she wanted.
Yes.
This is what this is where we're at now. This isn't this what, and she seems happy with that. that part of Lane is just like, well, this is the goal, right? This is what we want to do. And so it's like this final conversation with herself of just like, is this really what I want to be? Is this what I really want to do? And the loneliness of her closing herself totally off from everything, the city and the bubble, the alienation, whatever it is, whatever you want to call it, she doesn't like it. She doesn't want it. But she knows she can't go, she can't be part of everything. But then as a rationale and her ego, whatever, are talking, she comes to the realization that, oh, I don't have to be part of things, but I can watch things. And I can go down and they're not going to know who I am. And so I can perfectly come in and check in from time to time. And who does she check in on? And in the future,
and
she checks in on Alice.
Exactly. By the way, I love your use of the word ego, because what is the title of this episode? Ego.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, it's discussed, earlier on, talking about. I had the thought. Damn it, the thought's gone. Crap. Oh, what was it? Oh, it's gone. All right. If it comes back again, I'll let you know.
Sure.
She erased it.
Sure.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's all gone.
Won't allow it. We're actually at Siberia here. Okay, I don't think we're gonna be able to see. Okay, whatever. It's not gonna. Oh, there he is. So there's JJ. Oh, and there she is. Yeah, there's Mika. Taking the 1,000 yen bill, maybe. Yeah, unknown. Who that is?
Yeah, I was to say it's hard to tell.
Yeah, and the lighting's all weird, so it's kind of light brown, but who knows? And then there's also, I think Jay's also got it in the chat that there's an enlightenment aspect of this, where you act, and there's the acting part of you, and then there's also the spiritual side of you, the enlightened side of you, and what you are, what you work through, and how you react to what you do. That's a terrible way of saying it. Everyone should find their own answers. Thank you. That's what we're doing right here, Kanaka. And so Lane's working it all out. And then she finally has that moment where she goes, oh, wait. To your point, Steve. There is an out. But before that, she is miserable. And she just doesn't know what to do. And so she's...
I thought of the thing I forgot.
Okay, go for it.
Before, when she was talking with Eri about looking in on things, I have very little influence that I can just kind of make things go, but I don't have real control over what's going on in the Wired. It's like, that's this kind of moment where it's like Lane's kind of understanding. It's like she shouldn't have that much influence, that she should have that looking in on, that watching in on Alice, that looking in on stuff, and that it shouldn't be an active influence in the real world. It should be more of an observational position.
Yep, absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry. Go ahead.
I'm glad you did that.
And I think that comes from her conversation in the floating table with Yaso.
Yes.
Right.
And where she's in the Kuma Bear outfit.
Yep.
And he says to her, "You don't need to wear that next time you see me."
Yeah.
And he says, "Next time you see me." And and actually, John, I was thinking about you a little bit when I saw this, because you talk about in the past and other things, talking about casting away of childish things.
Yes.
So Yasuo is saying to her, look, you're not a child anymore. You are what you are, and this is you don't have to look like that for me anymore.
Right.
And she's crying. She doesn't know what to do, and she's trying to figure it out. And he goes, "Well, you love everybody, don't you?" "Well, yeah." "Well, there you go. Okay, next time I'll make us some tea next time." So he alludes that there's going to be a next time, and then that's when she kind of figures out. She goes, "Oh, I can be the watcher. I can still be involved, just not like you were saying, John. I shouldn't be going, oh yeah, I'm going to mess with your mind because I don't know what's going on in here or over here or
and I'll give that in a second here. More. I actually want to go back to for a second to that, that moment where she's all alone. And she looks up and she sees the light. And I was wondering this, and thank you more for saying it explicitly. It's Plato's cave. That Kankai said this was an explicit reference to Plato's cave.
Okay.
That now she is seeing the actual, light of reality. And for many people, and this is, I believe, Freudian, your father is your first conception of God.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I think that tracks onto here, that Lain is looking for another, another voice. And she kind of...
Yeah, wait till I start getting emotional, guys.
Oh boy.
Oh my.
Exactly. And then, to your point, he talked about having tea and having Madelines. He explicitly calls out having Madelines, and that is a reference to Proust. There's a moment in Proust where he talks about taking a bite of Madelines and having all these memories flooding back. And then the Madeline is sort of his connection to all these memories in his life. And so it's Madeline's memory, all those things going on. And as you say, and this is where we come back to reality and we see this young woman. And it took me a while, the first time I saw this episode, to go, who is that? Why are we seeing this young woman? Who is that? And especially in English, the voice actress, she definitely changes her voice. It's definitely an adult version of Alice, who is, out with her boyfriend.
Steve Bloom.
Steve Bloom. Yep.
It's an
right.
adult Taro.
Yeah. Well, she does mention the fact that you're my good student. So the whole teacher-student thing might still be a thing there. I don't know. And they both laugh it off, so it could just be a joke. And they're obviously both adults, but still just kind of Kanaka.
Yeah.
And then who does she see on the bridge, all dressed in red?
An unknown child.
But Alice is drawn to her for some strange reason.
Yep.
And what color is Alice also wearing? But red.
Mm-hmm. Boyfriend is in red and blue.
Yes, exactly.
Alice is in red.
Mm-hmm. And so Alice comes in, and I love Lane's expression here because it is very slightly creepy. I think this is actually calling back a little bit to the Alien shot. Because she has this very knowing expression on her face, just a little bit as she's looking at Alice, because Lain knows what's going to happen here.
Yeah.
But it is ultimately a very positive moment as they introduce themselves. And they have this wonderful moment. And it should be pointed out, by the way, what is everything in this scene?
All red.
Red.
But also notice how there's not a lot of detail. And again, this sort of an animation trick. We're not paying attention to the background. We're being focused and pulled onto our main characters.
Yeah.
As they're having this moment where Lain actually introduces herself to Alice, and we get the Alice-Lain moment. And Lain finally gets, apologies if I get a little emotional here, Lain finally gets closure. Because now, there's a memory of her in the real world, and she now exists in a real way. And they walk off, and that's enough. That's all she needs at this moment is some connection in the real world. And Steve, to your point, far enough in the future that it's not going to cause some strange ripple effect, right? All that's been taken care of.
Which is this 10 years? Would you estimate by Alice's age?
I would. I think. Roughly. Yeah. That works for me. Yeah.
So that's a decade's worth of time. That's a good chunk of passage.
Yeah.
To then insert herself in.
And even Alice's behavior, she feels like an adult. She has that kind of maturity and stuff. And then and so I mentioned in the past there's some shot in this that Yoshoshi Abe himself animated. This is the one. It's not the earlier ones, because this is totally Abe's style. Looking at it again, And it's not very much like the other shots we saw, frankly. The art style is noticeably different. Her eyes, for one thing, are much smaller. Fun fact, Abe was not allowed to watch anime growing up.
What?
He was not. His parents thought it would be a bad influence on him.
Wow.
Oops.
Yes and no.
Yeah, exactly. But he was able to animate this final sequence because the producer wanted his thumbprint on the show, if you will, his handprint on the show of Lain actually talking to you directly from the hand of the creator. Ha ha ha. And then we get our end credits.
Boy, what a ride it's been.
No kidding. There are so many pieces in this. One thing I haven't mentioned at all is there's just one of those little things you come across is Lane's last name, Iwakura, is a reference, I think, to the Iwakura mission, which was done by the Japanese government right after the Meiji Restoration. It was basically a tour of all of the world, and all of like the industrial nations of the world to look at their industrial processes and like they brought I think 100 and some people on this mission.
It was large.
It was big.
Yeah.
And they went all over the place.
I didn't tie that together. That's good.
Yeah, and it was literally called the Iwakura mission, and it was to technologize Japan. It was like, I wonder why they chose that word. Yeah.
Damn. Yeah,
So
I hadn't thought of that connection.
tons of things. So I'm going to ask a very big question. What are your thoughts at this point? Oh, what are your kind of... let me ask this question for both of you. When you got to the end of Lain the first time, Steve this time, or John before, what was your reaction at that point? Like getting to the very end of the show.
Oh, thank God. I don't mean that in a bad way, but I mean like it. I'm curious to know the after Lain. You know what I mean? It's like I hate to think of shows like oh, I want more Clannad. Here's the after story. Like God, that was a mistake. For this, it's like, I'm just so curious to know. It's like she brought things to a really, a good point where everybody is doing okay, except for Lain. She gets some closure to it, but Lain is fundamentally alone in this. She can check in and she's been acknowledged, but she's still alone. And it's like, does she now forward episode 14? It's like, would Lain then feel like, okay, everything's cool, nothing's screwed up. Now I can be a part of the real world and I can just sort of put the wire behind me and I can have a life. Or is Lain just, she understands the disaster that was her intersection with things, and that now 10 years hence she checks in on Alice again, and then 10 more, so it's like every decade she checks in, but she just lives hanging out in her null space for 10 years, and then when the clock goes off, she checks on Alice. And it's just like, I felt a deep sort of sadness to that, where it's like, I feel great that the people who are dead are alive, and that things are, going on and going well, presumably for them, and Eri gets his just desserts. But it's just fundamentally sad for Lain, because it's like she stands in such a position where she can't, there's so much she cannot do, and yet there's so much she can do. It's like, oh, geez. So, first time watching is still the time watching is still the same result. More things pulled out of it, but it's still the same kind of thing. It's like, oh, Lain is just, she is eternally this young girl who can't grow up in the real world.
And
it's like,
Steve, I'll get to you in a second, but I want to respond to that real quick. You're wrong. I'm kidding. Actually, the producer said at Otakon, actually, that he expected American audiences to hate this ending because Lain makes a very Japanese choice. She sacrifices herself for society, right? And she is not as important as the group. And he was very gratified to see that everyone was that audiences got it. Whether they agreed or not, whether they found it sad or not, they were like, I understand the logic of why she did that.
Right.
So I think I totally understand that reaction, because I think it is very valid that it is tragic. The Lain has done this thing and she's found some level of comfort, but it's definitely not a happy ending for Lain.
No.
Yeah. Steve, how about you?
So I did not have my visceral reaction as I did to the end of the original Evangelion anime.
Okay.
There was no cursing, there was no throwing of things, nothing with no holes in walls, right?
No slow clapping.
No. Got it. No. It was everything that we talked about tonight is good and well and good, and it's it was, as I said, I expected an end, and it was an end. But as I think I was saying in Discord a couple days ago, it's not the what that bothered me, like how this ended with the resolution, as opposed to Evangelion, where that's really all you got. And how do you feel about it in chat land?
I mean, 6 movies later, but yeah.
Right. But this, there's resolutions of sorts. There is answers of sorts, not total answers. There's still questions out there, and still things to ponder and understand. What I found annoying was that we spent 12 episodes of going through this wonderful, thought-provoking thing, chock full of stuff in each episode that was just a lot of fun. And then it just 24 minutes, here you go, tied up, right, and a little bow for you, in a messy little bow, but it's tied up for you. So here you are. So to me, I think it was one of those things where it's just like, I almost felt like it was Mobile Suit Gundam, where it's just like, did they not have the budget to go? Because I felt this ending could have been done over, to your point, John, over a 14th episode. I think this ending could have been extrapolated a little bit longer. I think it could have been a little bit more, not detailed necessarily, but I think that they could have not just ended it right then and there. It just felt kind of that way to me.
Did you want like more ambiguity?
No.
Okay.
What I wanted, and it's not that I wanted more ambiguity. I just wanted the story to have its natural course. I didn't feel that it had a natural course. Okay. I felt like that this was cut short a little bit. Now, of course, I could be totally wrong, because I'm the guy who made it, so they could probably be like, they're just like, no, this is what we meant to do, and that's probably the answer. But it just felt like that we could have expanded on the story to get to that end a little bit longer and in a little bit more interesting fashion, as opposed to we're going to have to wrap this up in 24 minutes, kind of a deal.
This is go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
No.
Okay.
Well, it's definitely not like it's to its defense, it's not like a smash cut to an ending.
Right. Yeah.
Because there have been series that go 10 episodes that are 23, 24 each, and it's like you can tell that 10th episode is like, wow, this has not hit a market share. Smash end it. We're done.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
So it's like this has a distinctly functional ending, and it's a perfectly fine ending.
Yes.
But to absolutely agree, Steve, it just feels like you could flesh this out.
That's
in
it.
a way that it's like,
that's it.
I have a functional ending, but I would just like to see a more expansive ending where it's like, I guess it's that desperate need for a happy ending, maybe.
Yeah. Well, that's the best way to put it, is to have it fleshed out. There's nothing wrong with the what of it. It's just how they did it. Now, this is where, do you mind if I get Oshi here?
Go for it.
Okay. And of course, you'll tell me I'm wrong. So for me, I there was a lot of biblical allegory going on to this whole thing, and but I didn't feel the Oshi moment until when Yasuo is talking to Lain in the floating table, and then for me, that's when a lot of things started wrapping together in a biblical sense, where that Eri is Lucifer, the morning star, and that he's not just the tempter. the wired is his heaven, his new heaven. That's why he calls himself God. And he's rebelling against who he calls himself God. And he doesn't acknowledge that there's another God because this is the world that he's making. And he wants to tempt Lain into this world as he's tempted others. There's that scene where you have Jesus saying this isn't a good idea. The guy who shot himself in the head. Those are the temptations of Jesus, right? And he's the final temptation of going, hey, I'm the guy who's always going to love you, kind of thing. When Yasuo opens, the box, I didn't think of Plato's Cave, but that actually really does work. But what I was thinking of Yasuo going, hey, I made you, because he did.
Yeah.
And, I made you. So let's talk about this thing that you're going through. And let's kind of talk about this. And when he says, well, the reason why you're miserable is because you love everybody. So what's the solution here? And by the way, we'll talk again in the future. So he's not expecting to be, this Yasuo is not expecting to be deleted or anything like that.
Right.
So when Lain does it, the Yasuo that's in the real world, sure, he doesn't really remember anything, but there's the Yasuo who created her. And that's actually God, and she's more of a Christ figure.
Sure, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And so, because
the
what she's doing is
the child of Yasuo.
Yeah. So, and because she's the child, she's the angel up in the sky, right? So you have that,
John the Baptist moment.
And Eri is like, no, we can't have this. I'm the one who's supposed to be in control. So it's that fight, and which he eventually loses. Yeah. And he is cast out of his own heaven. So he is angry all the time, and that's his hell. He's cast out. And
when he becomes the salary man, he's all bitter and angry about it.
Right, and angry and everything.
Okay.
And so when Lain makes her choice to be, I don't have to involve myself in every little thing that goes on. I can watch and I can appear from time to time if I want to, because I have the ability to do that. I will sacrifice myself for you,
because of the world.
I will ascend. I will ascend, but then I can come back down and touch you and talk to you, and you don't have to believe in me, but I can be there for you. Because that's what she's saying. I am there for you. I will always be here for you, whether you know it or not. So anyway, that's what I got out of it. That's my Oshi moment.
I think you're right.
Now I'm wrong.
That makes me wonder, like the times that we've seen Yasuo with Lain, have they ever been seated where she's sitting at his right-hand side? And I think she is.
You're right.
Yeah,
because
you think about that. Yeah.
Because that dinner table, Yasuo sits across from Miho. Mika is
Damn,
to
you're
the
right.
left.
You're right.
And she is to the right.
She's literally to the right-hand side of Yasuo.
So she sits at the right hand of the
God.
father.
Yeah.
Holy crap, Steve.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
And
and I just thought of the fact that God, Yasuo, created her, and she is not born of a woman.
Yep.
Oh my goodness.
And, who do we see working together in the past? Yasuo and Eri. God and Lucifer, right?
Because Lucifer was one of God's. Yeah, holy. Before the Lucifer's fall.
Yeah.
Okay, John, ready?
Oh.
Damn.
Slow clap.
And
Slow clap.
Lucifer's fall. What does Eri do?
He becomes
He dies.
Right.
He gets on the Yamato line or whatever the hell that was.
But
so that's his fall. From
literal fall from grace.
Holy.
Yeah.
Damn.
That's great.
Wow. So Lane's got this thing going on. Evangelian's got this thing.
Yeah.
It's a lot of people reading it.
I would argue
Christian and stuff.
I would argue that Lane's theology maps more cleanly than Evangelion's theology.
There's a lot going on in Eva.
That's true. Yes.
Yeah, that's true.
In many, many ways. I love that. this is one of the reasons why I love Lain, because everyone I talk to who's seen it has a very different reaction to it and a very different interpretation of things. I think the ending episode is perfect. I wouldn't change a thing about it. Because I like the ambiguity. Not the ambiguity, but I like the fact that we don't have the answer. I like the fact that we don't know what Lain does in the future, because that lets us imagine it. It gives us the opportunity to think those thoughts. And I love the what it gives us. But again, that's just me. Everyone has their own take on it, which I think is really, really cool.
Lain is like a Rorschach test. You make out of it what you see.
Yeah. Exactly. And exactly, Jay. It's like the creator wants the viewer to think about how it ended, and kind of and the entire rest of the show. Think about all those pieces. To your Christ figure, and I think that totally tracks. All of these things weave together. Lain keeps on giving.
Yeah.
And for me, when I finished Lain, my reaction was, I did not get it the first time I watched it. I was very impressed, but all of these various pieces just did not come together for me, and I had to go online and talk to friends and really analyze it to understand what I was seeing and put all the pieces together. Because to me, it was just there was too much. I was lost with that ending the first time I saw it.
Well, you remember when I first saw it, and I told you what my thoughts were on it.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, Lain is deeply disturbed. She has no parents. She has this dissociative disorder. She's like a troubled child. She doesn't have any idea what's going on. This is all a vivid fantasy. But watching it again, there's a whole lot more going on there.
Yeah. And again, I think that is a totally valid, I think that is supported by what we see in the anime, that she has all these weird things going on, and then it's all fine in the end. It should also be pointed out, one final little note. This outfit Lain has on the bridge, we only ever seen in the opening credit sequence. This is, we never see, I believe, this pink and red outfit. Maybe in Siberia, possibly. But I think we only see it on the bridge.
Yeah.
But anyway. Really.
Yeah, I was going to say, because her little Peruvian cap that hangs in the midair in the entry sequence.
Actually,
I'm not sure we see her
check.
wearing that little cap.
I'm wrong. I am completely wrong. I was totally wrong. That is her Siberia outfit. It is not what she's wearing on the bridge. On the bridge, she is wearing this pink.
And red.
Yeah, it is pink and red, but it's definitely not what she's wearing on the bridge, because there's that gray shirt underneath.
Yeah.
So it's interesting.
I just want to know what happened to the hat.
It's still hanging there.
It's still had a GPF moment, just hanging in space. Like, oh.
Totally.
Does anybody else see the hat? Don't talk about the hat. Why? Because Lain will hear you. Who? Nobody. I said nobody.
No, wait.
There is no such thing as Lain. What?
Yep.
No, we all love Lain.
Exactly.
What?
And,
Oh,
and
God,
we cycle
no.
around, Bridging
Exactly.
opening.
Yeah.
It's awesome stuff. So yeah, that will do it for our analysis of Serial Experiments Lain.
13 episodes.
Just a brief, shallow run over of some of the things in this series, scratching the surface, doing what we can. We're going to take a quick break for just a few minutes, and then we're going to talk about more modern anime and the latest anime news. We will be right back. There we go. Hello, everyone. We are back. Welcome back, everyone. Let us take a moment, a little breather, to talk about Hobby Hopper. Every month, members of our community choose a hobby they want to explore that month. Folks in chat, if you're exploring a hobby, please let us know your progress. As for us, it's a new month. So, are there any hobbies you folks are thinking of exploring over the next few weeks?
Jeez.
And how are things going with your current hobbies, if any?
I'll say I sewed some equipment.
Nice.
So
Nice.
because of all the humidity, it's leather equipment and shoes and stuff. You kind of have to maintain.
Gotcha.
I always carry a canteen because the heat
Okay.
of the last several months. And the strapping on the canteen, it's got a felt cover that gives it some insulation to an aluminum bottle.
Okay.
So you put nice cold water in it, and it's icy cold for like a half an hour, then like an hour and a half. It's cool water. It's good for the dogs, predominantly for them. And the way that the bottle is held, it's got like a leather harness kind of that holds it in.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And just you're taking the cap off of the canteen, you're moving things around. It's like the stitching is heavy grade waxed linen.
Okay.
And in hot summer, depending on what parts are exposed,
Yeah.
the waxed linen tends to like thin out in spots. So it is not appropriate for the it's nice white waxed linen. I'm using dark nylon core cotton thread, so it's like black thread. So it blends with the black leather, but now you've got this nice white like stitching kind of stuff, and then these weird like dark stripes over the white stitching where I've like reinforced things. So cool. There's just trying to maintain things as we go. I have no idea what I'm going to do going forward. I mean, because that's I could say, housework. How about like yard maintenance?
I don't think we can count that one.
I tried a disastrous
putting on my clothes in the morning.
Well, I tried a disastrous experience with like making like mortar for a patch on the chimney, and I don't know how to do that right. Okay. So I ended up with this slurry that just was useless. So that's not a hobby I'm willing to like admit to. So I'm gonna have to get back to whatever.
Fair enough. Steve, how about you?
Well, first I want to say that over on Discord, the people who are making stuff, including what you made the other night, some of that stuff is looking really good. I'm like jealous. Yeah. Like some of the food that's
got some great things out there.
Picture, so kudos to you and Chatland if you're doing that over in Discord.
Totally.
So I am actually about 2/3 of the way done with my little D&D adventure with the slimes, the Temple of the Slimes. We've got it fleshed out a whole bunch of NPCs, and I've got the town down, and I've got I think I got the sketched out of the temple, which will be the last third, and it'll be ready to rock and go. And if it ever sees the light of day, I don't know. but no, it's been fun, and it's just been like I've been like every now and again I get like memories from back in the day, as a kid doing it, and just making stuff, and just having that fun of just like being able to reference things, and just it's just a lot of fun. This is not so much as a hobby, but it's something I'm going to do is make British pub style pickled onions, pearl onions. And I made some at the beginning of the lockdown, and it takes a long time. It takes months over time, but they're amazing if you do it right, and they're nice and crunchy, and it's just got this. They're Christmas. It's Christmas. It's this Christmas in a jar.
Are you going to pair it with a nice leek and kidney pie?
Why not? I was thinking more of a stout, but hey.
Either way.
So I'm definitely going to be doing that. I think the next project I'm going to be coming up with is I'm going to since the weather's going to be to me nicer. Out comes the camera. and I think we're going to be doing some photography work.
Cool.
Again. It's been a little while since I've been doing that.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Especially as the trees start to change.
Yeah.
Sit down at the stop sign in your local corner and take pictures and then forward it on to the police for people to run the sign.
Yeah.
No, that's not a hobby.
Not a good idea.
No.
Not a good idea.
And somebody will smack me if I do that.
I almost got run over today, and I'm full on legit. I'm not kidding.
Wow.
Like I had pulled my little girl back because I knew I was coming to an intersection where it was not good.
Your dog.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Not daughter. Not daughter.
My
dogs are my kids, so little girl and her sons are my boys.
Okay.
I pulled her back because it was A, I know the intersection, and B, it's one of those moments where you're like, I just have a car goes through. I'm like, wow, I was like 3 feet away from being right in that spot, and she was like slightly forward of me. I'm like,
No.
So, Steve, if you take some pictures of people running like
Gotcha.
stop signs, just community effort. So.
Gotcha.
Thanks for sharing. Appreciate that. Very cool, Jay. Going to teas. That's very awesome.
Oh,
Green
nice.
teas,
Cool.
kelp tea. I did not know kelp tea was a thing.
Kelp tea.
Yeah, that's fascinating.
I wonder what the health benefits are of kelp tea.
Matcha
I
ice
would like
cream.
to know.
Matcha ice cream is
Oh,
such
Ice
awesome.
cream. Yeah.
Come on, that's
That is
awesome.
amazing.
Pictures. Pictures.
Yes,
Yeah.
please send us pictures.
And is it an old school hand cranked like ice cream maker
I
with
love those
matcha?
things.
Get the rock salt,
Yeah,
throw
I'll
it
do
on,
that.
crank. Oh, boy.
Those are ideal when you have children who can crank them for
Yes.
you.
Free
Yes.
labor. Helpers.
Right.
Helpers. Volunteers.
Exactly. Well,
Oh, and by the way, I've had my mind blown now 2 months in a row.
okay.
Thank you.
Yes.
Brent, with your revelation at Otakon about the idea of reincarnation in Buddhism being a prime factor for a willingness of a soldier to say, you know what, it doesn't really matter this life. I can charge into the hail of gunfire because reincarnation will happen and I'll do better. I'll come around better. And now Steve in September with Lain as the Christ figure. Like, wow. Yeah. Okay. Wow. What's going to come up for October?
I'll tell you exactly what's coming up. Because,
awesome.
Because in October, after OnCon and after we're out for a week, we'll be watching the 4 Evangelion Rebuild movies. And,
oh boy, here we go. Mind blowing.
Analyzing
here
those.
We go.
And those are fascinating. We've talked about this before. They are very much almost Anno's fan fiction remake of Evangelion, where he's redoing the story from scratch. So be very curious to compare and contrast those things.
Oh boy.
I think I'm really looking forward to seeing kind of what is Anno's headspace right now. And when somebody comes back to a beloved thing and says, no, this is the version of this that I want to tell right now is fascinating.
He's listened to all the people complain.
Basically, I think.
And he's had time to digest it and go, well, y'all go to hell.
Well, and also, coming back to something when you have more or less all the time in the world, when you're not under all the time pressure and all of the, weirdness of we got to get this out done now, whatever. Very interesting. Speaking of which, OnCon is coming up next week. Yay! So we're gonna have our little online anime convention here on YouTube, hopefully, and also on Twitch. And so full details at animeoncon.com. We got 4 panels coming up, one by Steve, and a couple by myself. So I hope you all will enjoy that. I've actually been assembling my notes for the Wars of Gundam panel recently, so hopefully that will be of interest to people.
And Kira's throwing down too?
Yep, absolutely. She's talking about the real-life locations of Girls und Panzer.
Oh,
yeah. Mm-hmm. And how that impacts
videos.
Oh, she does an amazing job.
Love her videos.
And then I'll also be talking about the how anime is made, the actual animation production process, especially as it's evolved into the digital age. So that is
copy and paste currently, right?
Not quite, if only. and some of the controversies these days in the animation world. But yes,
who is truly an animator?
Well, yeah. What is anime?
I can't wait to hear this. Hey,
Exactly. So that'll be next week, right here, next Saturday. We'll be starting at noon Eastern time and digging into various things with a pre-show in which I bake the traditional chocolate chip cookies.
Yes.
For the charity auction.
And I will win this time.
Okay.
I will win.
All right.
I will.
All right.
I will win.
Fair enough.
Those cookies are mine.
Okay. Well, we'll see.
When oatmeal raisin comes up, I will beat all of you.
Okay. Gotcha. So that should
White chocolate macadamia nut? Oh, I will drag you all behind the car to get that.
Let's talk a bit about the anime we've been watching. Folks in the chat, let us know what you've been watching lately and any questions you have for the three of us before we get into the news. John, how about you? Keep it up.
All the most recent season, Girlfriend, Slime Data Ken, which it's totally expected. We are doing, this big thing's gonna happen, like plot wise. Mm-hmm. So let's do it in like 7 episodes, where there's like episode of over here is this one part of whatever. So I'm just like bated breath. I'm like, you're killing me. I want to see the giant battle. It's like, nope, we're not gonna get there.
Interesting.
Otome Flag is going great. Katharina Kleiss is just steaming right along. Keeping up, gosh, I'm trying to think of the other ones that I've kept up with. I still have a super huge backlog. The Detective is Dead, Make You Black Company. I still have not finished Odd Taxi.
I was just thinking of that.
Killing me. So there's so many that I haven't finished because, Genshin.
Right.
Again. Mm-hmm. There's new content.
Oh
released
boy,
in
there is
2.1. So it's one of those where it's like juggle instead of watching 3 or 4 anime episodes a day at beginning of the day, then lunchtime, then night. I'm watching 2.
Yeah,
it's like effectively halved my watching.
By the way, John, it's finally happened in Genshin.
That we've reached critical mass where we're all getting money back.
No,
Yay! No.
Plot wise, something's happening.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh boy. I've been exploring and I've been finding things. And I've
same
been
here.
Stuff.
And I finally started the plot today, and I was like, anime adjacent, so I'll allow it. This is a diversion because I think one of the things great art does is it changes your behavior and your attitude. Right? It changes you as a person. Playing that quest today, normally I don't like killing in video games. Like, I understand its function, but I don't, I don't find that, satisfying. As a result of the plot, then there's a moment where the traveler, how your main character doesn't really have dialogue, but they do like dialogue options.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Your main character stops having dialogue. They don't have words anymore. And they rush off in a direction towards a place. And I, as a person, was like, yep, I am killing every person in that place right now.
Oh, wow.
Yep. They did that to me. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow.
Ooh, that game. I need to look up the writers.
I didn't think the fishing option would motivate me.
It's the rods and all of the options. It's amazing.
Man,
I
know fishing angers some people, but wow, just to hear how passionate you are.
Exactly.
Wow, I can't wait to be at that place because I'm still at adventure level 35.
I think it's open. I think you should be able to get to it if you do go through the Archon quest stuff.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Because I just did the Eternal Bale Lightning off. So I finally got where I've jumped to the waypoints that are floating in the sky kind of thing.
Okay,
I've gotten that turned off. So I have not I've focused entirely on that so far.
Yeah.
So
you're almost there.
I played solitaire.
Steve,
You're
any
just holding off, Steve, until
Yeah.
until you're like ready to launch at the point where they're the most up to date.
There we
Well,
go, yeah.
well, the thing is that listening to you guys, not just on now, but also over Discord and stuff, talking about Genshin, I'm like going, this has actually prompted me to start to buy the new thing.
Cool.
You know,
Cool.
The MacGuffin?
The whole thing. And so I'm on that. I was derailed this week, unfortunately, due to my wonderful car. And but
You have a car and you live in Baltimore.
yes.
Wow. You don't just public transit around? Isn't it expensive to have a car in Baltimore?
Well, considering that my job is in Gambles, I have to.
That'll do it.
So
That'll do it.
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
Now,
Gotcha.
beforehand, we just had the one car so that we could actually go see our families.
Okay.
But so yeah, so hopefully at some point I'll get there. You guys will be like almost finished with the game, and I'll be like, I'm just starting. Wait for me, guys.
Oh, that is not a problem.
Yeah. Just to give you an idea, the CEO of the company said that they have 3 more years of content solidly planned beyond whatever else they can do beyond that.
Jeez.
So yeah, that game's gonna be around a while.
Yeah, the special event kind of things. They created an entire archipelago of islands for a special event that then they deleted.
Like, we don't need this. It's fine.
Yeah, I mean, like elements
Nuts.
exist that came back, but
Yeah.
like the structure and like the entirety of what was going on for the mechanics of that are just gone. They just got rid of it because they did something else. So 3 years of solid content, and then who the hell knows what else they're gonna do once it's insane.
Yeah, and there's
We can tell.
already so much to do.
I know. It's
Yeah.
great.
So-
Eating into my anime time.
Yeah. Speaking of which, Steve, any anime this week?
So I went into an old favorite, Neon Tokyo, and that's a story collection. Have you guys seen it?
Oh, Neo Tokyo. Yeah.
Neo Tokyo. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
what I say. Neon.
Yeah. Neon Genesis.
That's there we go. Neo Tokyo, and that was kind of a fun thing to revisit.
Oh,
and
boy.
just kind of, you know,
What time frame? 90s?
Yeah,
90s, yeah.
early 90s actually. Yeah.
Okay.
Early 90s. Total AMV fuel.
Yes.
Yeah, total AMV fuel. The first one's very bizarre and creepy. The second one is creepy as heck. And the third one was third vignette was.
Is that the Order of Self-Construction?
Yeah, I think so. I think so.
Yeah.
Is it Mecha? What is it?
It's 3 totally different stories.
Yeah.
Oh, sort of like Memories?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Different animations and styles and things like that. You can find it on Retro Crush.
And Jay's Coding Cat, they also did a disc re-release recently.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. So you can
Yeah.
find that.
So you should be able, and you should be able to find it. It's pretty easy to find.
Go to my notes section. Neo.
In ever expanding queue.
Yeah.
I gave Gasaraki a try.
Okay.
Gave Gasaraki a try.
All
I'm
right.
gonna try it again sometime in the future.
Okay.
The I like the mecha designs.
Okay.
Okay, and then they just started getting weird.
So
This is good.
let
I
me
was
ask
just
you.
kinda like,
in that mecha series, how did you like the traditional kabuki performances?
I only got the first episode.
They should. I think they were in the first episode. Like
it's
the whole
in
thing
the
where they're
first
dancing.
episode.
Like
Did
the
I
whole
not
thing
get
there.
to that?
Yeah, that whole
No,
thing.
I did.
Yes.
Well, then
in
Oh.
the cave,
Oh.
they start doing the dance thing. That's the kabuki. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh Jesus.
Maybe I misremembered the first episode.
Yeah.
I'll have to rewatch.
It is weird.
Yeah.
Definitely
I'll have to
weird.
rewatch.
It's a very weird
So
show.
I just,
Yeah.
So clearly I did not make it through the first episode. So I was just telling it. No, we'll just try to see it in the future. Because I like the ideas of the mecha, and I like it initially when they were going through the practice thing that seemed interesting.
Yeah.
The practice fight.
for those not familiar, Gasaraki was made by a bunch of like legendary mecha folks to do a more realistic take on mecha. So it's more like Gulf War era. You know, how could you actually build these in real life and put them into a like Gulf War type of scenario?
Right.
Yeah.
And it was very intriguing because they were, like, for example, going over walls, you don't just jump or step over them. You actually have to have grappling hooks and actually lift yourself up and that kind of thing, and syncing your aiming guns, your aiming software and stuff like that. So it was very interesting at first, and then it just kind of went to this turn.
It sure does. Yeah.
Okay.
Where do you get to the ending?
Great. But
I was waiting for the magical girl to pop out on the gate. Okay, what
Sure,
happened?
why not? Exactly.
What's going on here?
And she's an idol.
It'll be,
And
So
now
next
it's
time I'll
Kabuki
watch-
on ice with an idol. Here we go. The Everything and More show.
the next time I'll be watching, I'll be like, I'm pretty sure there was no whiskey in here.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
The small liquor.
Well, then I'd just be angry at that. So then I retried something, and I can't remember if I saw the first episode with you guys in a watch.
Okay.
I don't know if I saw it where I saw the first episode, but for some reason, well, I know the reason why, because it's really hard. There is no English dub to it.
Okay.
I don't think, or at least it's not coming up on Fun Animation as a dub. And you have to be able to read quickly because everyone just talks really, really fast.
Okay.
So the subs are really, really fast. But it was called the Tatami Galaxy.
Okay.
And I just found that I know I had seen it before. Like, it was one of those things where I watched, I was like, I don't quite remember it, but I know I've seen it. And so the second watch, I'm more into it, and I was just like, oh, okay, I like it. So I got a few episodes for that, and it's pretty neat.
Have you seen The Night is Short Walk On Girl?
No.
It's like the same show. Except
really?
for Night is Short Walk On Girl is a movie of like how Tatami Galaxy is kind of presented.
Gotcha.
It's
I
actually-
just love the animation of it. I really do.
Yeah.
It's actually technically like literally they're connected. They're not like it's not like technically prequel sequel stuff, but they are very much
Yeah.
yeah.
Gotcha.
Which Phil and I had watched the Night is Short Walk On Girl, and we were both like, whoa.
Yes. Yes, that is a lot.
And then I watched Tatami Galaxy, like a few episodes of it, and I'm like, okay, I adored The Night is Short. Because I really liked the kinetic motion and the interesting things going on with it. And Tatami, for some reason, I couldn't lock into the same way that I did Tatami. There's a lot going on in that, and like just how it visually presents is like, okay, you have to be. It's another one of those. You have to be pay attention. You have to be in the right place. It's like Gasaraki. You got to be in the right place to watch that. Tatami, you got to be certainly in the right place to watch that. So. Yeah.
Cool.
You've picked some interesting stuff, Steve.
Yeah, definitely.
I was just very arbitrary this week. I was just like, okay.
But really interesting arbitrary. It's not like, hey, I'm trying to think of like some kind of random
One Piece, Naruto, and
and it's not
JoJo's
mug cup. You know what I mean? Mug Cup is just like a 14-minute short, and they get this little. So it's like that's like kind of a rando like throwaway. It's enjoyable, but it's just it really doesn't build anything.
Right.
And it's like, nope. Steve goes for some very interesting hard choices. It's like, oh, cool.
I have not been going broad. I'm finally caught up to where I started with Anne of Green Gables.
Oh, good.
And I am planning to spend a good chunk of this weekend watching more of that because I'm 19 episodes from the end of the show. And so hopefully I can watch the bulk of it over the next few days. Because that is just a joy of a show. Sometimes difficult, but in the sense of... okay, so there's an episode where and it's episode 20, I think, something along those lines, and I was about to say Lane. Anne wakes up.
Lane
That'd be
wakes
a
up.
twist.
Oh,
Yeah.
The crossover nobody asked.
Yeah, exactly. Anne wakes up and mentions to herself, "Oh, it's already been a year." And then goes downstairs and asks to be allowed to stay home from school and just help Marilla out around the house for the day. And she's going to do all the cooking and the cleaning and so forth. And Marilla's like, okay, sure. Any particular reason? And Anne goes, no particular reason, just I want to do that for you. And then Anne goes out and asks Matthew, do you know what day it is? And Matthew's like, I couldn't tell you, not sure. And Anne's like, oh, okay. And goes inside and does the thing. And does her day, and then see if I can show you. There's a she makes breakfast, makes lunch, does the laundry, and then has to go upstairs to do her schoolwork in the afternoon. And Marilla comes down and checks over everything, and everything seems fine. But then she picks up one of the handkerchiefs that Anne did, and it's literally like this. Like it's stiff as a board, and she literally just goes like that with it, and it turns out she starched his handkerchiefs, Matthew's handkerchiefs. It's like, yeah, man, not quite, but and then she Marilla goes up and talks to Anne, and Anne lets slip that this is the 1 year anniversary of Anne coming to Green Gables, and Marilla goes, just kind of, oh, and then continues and continues the scene and doesn't really say anything. Marilla's definitely a processor.
Right.
And then she gets up, goes out of the door, and Anne's room is on the second floor, closes the door, goes down the hallway, goes down the stairs, goes into another room, grabs a bucket, goes into another room, grabs a mop, and at this point I'm thinking, Takahata, what are you doing? Why are you showing all of these moments of Marilla just going about her day? Because now I'm in the rhythm of Marilla is just kind of going about her chores, doing her thing, obviously still thinking about this a little bit.
Right.
And then Marilla opens the door to the main room in the house, and she starts back because she sees Anne and Matthew across the way having just entered the door. And you realize it's Anne and Matthew from a year ago. And Anne leans forward and says, "You don't want me!" Ooh. And they redo the scene from like episode 2 or 3, where Anne has first come into here and realizes that she's not wanted. And breaks down and cries on the table. And Takahata won't even let that go because Anne breaks down, goes to the table, starts crying. We then cut back to Marilla in the room, the empty room, while we're hearing Anne crying. And she kind of heavily walks over to the table, and then we resume the scene with Marilla at the table, and we finish out that scene, and then we come back to the present.
Boy.
Oh! Like, that's how you do a clip show, everyone! Right there!
Jesus.
So you like the lighter show.
Exactly right.
There, right?
And that's the thing, is that most of the show, and like we're getting to the point now, and this is another impressive thing about the show, and one of the reasons I'm getting through it is so that you all don't have to listen to me talk about Anne of Green Gables every freaking week. But Anne's character design in episode 1 is different from episode 10, different from episode 20.
Oh.
Because she's a year older. And so they actually change her character design just enough over time to show her growing up. That's the level of detail they put into this show because they're thinking through, well, and she's scrawny when she first gets there. So she kind of fills out a little bit as she gets, 3 squares meals a day. And it's those little things. And again, she's kind of settled in, to her life. Everything's kind of good for her now. And we're kind of on the up and up. For those familiar with Anne of Green Gables, about halfway through is where she is dared to walk on the roof of a building, and she does so and then falls off and breaks her ankle. And it's one of the kind of the key scenes in the book where she receives a kind of instant retribution for her daringness, and it's a moment where and it's actually a nice moment because she falls down, and of course
she has a nice moment. She
yeah. Because it's interesting because they Takahata like really plays it where she's up and like she's just walking along the roof of this slate building, and everything seems fine, and then she slips and she falls down the other side from where like the 6 little girls are that they were around, and one of them dared her to do it, and they just see her slip and hear boom, and then they run around and she's just laying there. And obviously, if you've watched, if you've read the book, but he lets her like lay there for a little while because all the girls freak the F out, and they come over, and then they shake her, and she wakes up after a few moments. Like he lets it sit there for a little bit, but then the thing is, Anne's fine. She's just broken her ankle, basically,
right?
And then they we then cut to Marilla back at Green Gables. Harvesting apples, and she hears crying in the distance, and she turns to see the husband of the house where Anne was doing this, holding Anne in his arms, trailed by like half a dozen little girls who are all sobbing because they feel guilty and horrible and all this kind of stuff. But then she sees Anne, and Anne is like conscious, but like her eyes are closed. She's just kind of laying there, conserving her energy, and Marilla goes, "Oh God." And like, and starts, going forward, all concerned. All of the, Anne is a klutz and all that kind of is gone. She is suddenly a concerned parent, and it's just this lovely little moment of Marilla kind of going, "Oh, I'm a mom now," basically. So yeah, it's pretty it's pretty lovely. But yeah, it's
how many
charming.
How many episodes?
50.
50. Because here's the thing that I was thinking about in my head, and we've kind of visited this thought in the past. I think like about a year ago. What if we rented a movie theater?
Yeah.
Over the course of a week and just showed all 50 episodes.
Sign me up. I'd do it. I'd rewatch the show in an instant. I'll be honest.
And who owns the rights to that? That happen?
Considering how well things went with Pippi Longstocking. Actually, I can summarize, and again, I'll get off and eventually.
Eventually. Someday.
So just kind of to summarize exactly kind of the tone of this show. So Anne's an orphan, and she's kind of getting used to people. And as the story goes on, she meets some more kind of kindred spirits and so forth. And the new minister and his wife move in partway through. And the minister invites Anne over for tea, which puts Anne over the moon. She gets a letter addressed to Miss Anne Shirley, which is the first time she's ever been addressed as a miss. Very, very exciting. And so she goes over for tea with another little girl. They have tea. It's very nice. The minister's wife is very nice to her. And Anne, the other little girl has to leave early, and so Anne's there. She sees... as she's just kind of standing there, and the minister's wife goes to grab like some iced tea or something, Anne notices a painting, and she walks over, and it's a painting of Jesus with the children. And Jesus is there, and all the little children are around him, and there's like a little girl in a blue dress like behind him, and Anne just looks at this for like 20 seconds. And Takahata just lets us watch Anne watch the painting, and we kind of cut back and forth between her, just focused on the painting. The minister's wife comes back in, opens the door, closes the door, goes over, sets the iced tea down. Anne hasn't looked away yet. The minister's wife is like, okay, she's focused, comes over and says, do you like that painting? And Anne says, and by the way, the minister's wife doesn't know Anne's backstory particularly. He just knows, her last name is different than her parents' name. But Anne says, I was looking at this painting, and it's very nice, but I saw the little girl in the blue dress in the back, and it seems so sad that she's not there with Jesus. And wouldn't it be nice if she came up and was with the other people? And she really reminded me of me. In fact, I thought that she was me, because she's separate from everybody else, and she's kind of alone. And this continues. And We cut back to the minister's wife multiple times, and she has this completely neutral expression on her face. And we cut back to Anne talking about how, the girl in the blue dress would come up, and hopefully, Jesus would put his hand on her, and she wouldn't feel alone, and so forth. And we come to the minister's wife, and she just has this neutral expression, and she says, Anne, and she comes around and takes Anne by the shoulders and says, if it's all right with you, would you mind talking about your past?
Oh.
Yeah. And you realize the minister's wife is processing. And she's realizing, oh, there's hidden stuff going on underneath all of this. There's some loneliness going on. Anne is just chattering away. She's just kind of, talking about all this. Right. We then smash cut from that to just Anne walking home. She brought a basket of strawberries. She has an empty basket. And she's just walking, feeling very nice. And she goes home and she's very happy. And I think the narrator says, Anne, went home and was very happy and had this nice this nice thing, and even she didn't quite know why. And you realize Anne now has a sympathetic mother figure. Right? Somebody asked her about herself, asked her about her past. She's feeling validated. Nobody says that to you. Nobody just throws that at you. And Anne isn't processing on any of this. She isn't thinking about, oh, what a poor girl I am. But it's those things in her environment that are realizing what's going on with her and kind of giving her that help and that and so forth and so on. So beautiful. Apologies. This is Anne of Green Gables I'm talking about incessantly. And so we will move on from that momentarily. But yeah, hopefully I will finish Anne of Green Gables soon. It's a brilliant anime series. Absolutely amazing. Did y'all hear that?
Here's something.
Took a second. I think we're good. Maybe. Yes, I think we are. Yay.
Oh, I see us.
Cool. Welcome to the latest weekly anime news for this week. Ending September 4th, 2021. We're professionals. In an interview published last week, Mobile Suit Gundam director Yoshiki Tomino revealed he's been suffering from some health issues, and guessed that he may only have about 3 years left of working on anime at the studio. Just to be clear. The 79-year-old explained he suffers from a condition that narrows space within the spinal column and puts pressure on the nerves, causing pain and numbness in the legs and making it difficult to move around. On a more positive note, he said he's fully vaccinated for COVID-19, and commented that he did experience some side effects from the shots, but said that he understood that with so many people being vaccinated, some were bound to get symptoms, so unlike a certain segment of society, he has no intention of criticizing it. Of course...
Wow.
Yeah. Tomino, keeping it real.
Yeah.
He also talked a bit about upcoming Gundam projects in the interview as well. He said he hasn't had any participation with the Mobile Suit Gundam Hathaway film, which debuted in June, which is based on his own series of novels. He gave no comment about the film and declared it the work of its own director, but he did say that were he not so busy with the Reconquista in G films at the time, he might have had some passionate discussions with the director.
Ooh.
Wow. Exactly. He was then asked about the live-action Hollywood Gundam adaptation, and he said he generally has no comment about that either, but did admit he would have liked to have been asked to direct it himself. However, he said he knows how physically demanding filming can be and understands that at his age, he's probably too old to make a live-action work in Hollywood. Probably.
Oh,
Perhaps.
these are some very interesting comments.
Oh, man.
Yes!
I know.
looks
He's
like to have
still in
been-
the game.
Yeah, like have a passionate discussion. Oh wow, okay, interesting.
And in fairness, I think every discussion with Tomino is passionate. So if maybe it just means he'd love to dig in and talk about, the story and so forth. Perhaps.
That, or there was going to be the backhanded slapping. No, that's not how that works. I'm like, oh.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love that he wanted to be asked to direct the Hollywood movie. It's like, all right, I guess.
Okay.
Want to be involved. Who knows?
A little nod to his contribution,
Yeah,
I don't know.
I'm sure there will be a credit to Yoshiki Tomino in that movie when it comes out.
There
Better be. Oh dear. Yeah, imagine at 79 years old saying, "Well, I probably only have a few years left in my career."
What's not said? I intend to live forever.
Mm-hmm. Man likes to
92,
work.
he'll be like, I only got a couple more years left. Like, okay.
At least he's not retiring every 3 years the way Miyazaki does.
That's true.
True.
At least not yet. Maybe in the
It's
next 2
true,
more
yeah.
years it'll be the first retirement, and then from there it'll proceed Miyazaki-esque.
And I do wonder. I mean, I can imagine Tomino being the kind of person who does retire, but makes himself available. So he'll probably be sort of an advisory role in the future, sort of answering questions and such, but not really, day to day in the studio, so to speak.
Well, apparently from that comment, he'd like to at least be asked about things from Hollywood perspective.
Yeah.
So he could be a consultant.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Might not be able to direct, but certainly could consult.
Yeah.
Have your people call his people.
Right. Oh, Tomino, never change. Following last week's first look at the upcoming live-action Cowboy Bebop adaptation, publisher Titan has revealed a series of books that tie into this series. Coming first in November will be a prequel novel written by series staff writer Sean Cummings. Cowboy Bebop, a syndicate story, Red Planet Requiem, which I admit is a good title, will follow a young Spike Spiegel and Vicious
Ish.
as they explore the galaxy back before they became rivals.
Ooh.
Yes. A 4-issue Cowboy Bebop comic series will begin in December with writing from Dan Waters of Lucifer and Homesick Pilots, and art by Lamar Matherin. Yep. The never-before-seen story will follow the crew of the Bebop as they hunt down an ex-gang member with an unusual item, a vest that apparently gives the wearer unlimited good luck.
Okay, Faye.
Yeah, I was about to say, Faye's gonna be like, hey,
Yep.
Hey,
dang it.
And finally, coming in early 2022 will be Cowboy Bebop making the Netflix series a hardcover book, collecting concept art and production photography from the series.
oh, just take my money.
Yeah, I
Just
would
take
love to see
my
that.
money. I
Yeah.
want to see that.
How do you reconceptualialize an anime series
Yeah.
into live action? That's fascinating.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Well, with enough money, apparently it happens.
Yeah.
Does it happen well? Everybody's opinion is different.
Well, but I think beyond money, right? Money doesn't decide on what art style you want, all that kind of stuff. So
Right.
it's be interesting to see what approaches they took and what approaches they discarded.
choices.
Choices.
What were the choices?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm just curious. Actually, I'll buy into the prequel series about Spike and Vicious, because you get a teaser of that in the anime of them
Yeah.
on as combatants, not
Yeah.
against each other, but on the same
Right.
side.
Yeah.
And you see a little bit of the story of how Spike and Vicious were maybe not friends, but there was
Sure.
definitely a
Allies.
camaraderie where they were
comrades,
allies,
yeah.
comrades.
Mm-hmm.
And I would love to know that story, because there is so much on that story that is just not said. I mean, you get the gist of it, obviously, but there is so much not said.
Yeah, fleshing that out.
Yeah.
And when you get the series head writer who's obviously been in the heads of these characters for a while writing, it's basically fanfic, like, let's be honest, right?
Yeah.
But that is a voice who will have the authority, so to speak, of being able to really think about it deeply. That's cool. I like it. Curious what then there's the you can see the cover of the comic up there. But I'm curious what the art style is going to be of that comic. Kind of what direction they'll take with that.
I forget which company it was. I think it was it Dark Horse? That was trying to do a Cowboy Bebop manga. And
interesting. That's right. I remember that vaguely.
And like three volumes in, and then they're just like, we're not doing this anymore. And they just
what?
And they just stopped it.
Yeah, probably just didn't sell.
Yeah,
it happens.
Who's funny because the guy who was actually writing and drawing it basically said, well, I was really late on this, but then they finally sent me a notice saying, oh, we're not going to do this anyway. So here you go.
Well, there's a sign. I kept being late on this, and for some reason it got canceled. I don't know.
I don't know why.
Here's your check, and here's your pink slip.
Exactly.
Yay, and boo-hoo.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, interesting. Also this week, Studio Science Saru announced that it is producing the Heike Story television anime based off of Hideo Furukawa's novel of the same name. The story is based on the classic Japanese epic The Tale of Heike, and the anime will begin streaming this fall on Funimation and air on Fuji TV. And The Tale of Heike, is a classic Japanese novel, an epic compiled prior to 1330 about the struggle between the Taira and the Minamoto clans.
Oh, wow.
For control of Japan at the end of the 12th century.
Yeah.
And if I recall, obviously it is a novel, or it is an account of that. So it's one of those things where it's probably not perfectly historically accurate, but it gets across. So very curious about that. Netflix revealed this week it is working with prolific manga creator Shin Kibayashi on a new original anime titled Lady Napoleon, which, can you guess what that might be about?
Rasputin?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh.
And Shin Kabayashi has worked on the Kindaichi Case Files, Tante Gakuen Q, Remoto, Shiba Tora, which I'm not familiar with but I've heard of, Gatobukazo Dakanya, Bloody Monday, and many others. There are maybe 15 credits on the Wikipedia page to give you an idea. Very prolific. It's an action fantasy that will follow Sophie, a descendant of Napoleon, and the leader of the organization Lady Napoleon, bent on world domination. So maybe a world conquest Zvezda feel?
Yeah, I'm starting that's the first thing I'm like, there we go. Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. Pokemon fans have more to look forward to after this week. A new 8-episode anime series titled Pokemon Evolutions will start airing on the Pokemon Company YouTube channel and Pokemon TV app on September 9th. The new show's episodes will each feature a story from one of the 8 main Pokemon regions, ordered in reverse order from their original introduction. So starting from the most recent, going all the way back to, I guess, the Kanto region, the beginning. So that's an interesting kind of approach to take.
That might explain when I was in Target just a couple days ago, buying some stuff, that they had a placard on all the registers that said, limit 5 Pokemon card packs per person to, and they had a little disclaimer, we want to make sure everybody has a chance to get them. So apparently, and it's the regular size and the oversized of cards. So that might make my niece is way into it right now. Very happy. Very happy about it.
Cool. Pokemon will never die. I mean, Pokemon is one of those, and that is a franchise that will be around for a long time to come. Anime director Pierre Ito revealed 2 new films in an associated crowdfunding campaign this week. He's producing Mouse Man Dark Child, a new anime film based on his independent series Mouse Man, and Kenda Master Ken Shingeki Joban Ware, a remake of his previous Kenda Master Ken film. So if you're interested in more independent anime, check that out. It was announced this week that the Cartoon Network run of the Record of Ragnarok anime in Japan will include an additional exclusive mini-anime. The series debuted worldwide on Netflix in June and will begin its Japanese TV run in October. So that's an interesting approach to add new content to the TV broadcast.
Yeah.
The Moriarty the Patriot anime is getting a 2-episode OVA project telling an original story not in the manga. Teasing Master Takagi-san, Fate Kaleid liner Prisma Ilia, and To Your Eternity all revealed this week that the anime series will continue. The overall Prisma Ilia series will get a sequel work, and both To Your Eternity and Teasing Master Takagi-san each announced continuing seasons in 2022. If you like those, more coming. A few anime series coming to YouTube this week. Funimation and Gonzo partnering to stream all episodes of the Ragnarok the Animation, Witchblade, and Burst Angel anime on their YouTube channels for free. Funimation streaming the anime with English subtitles in the US, Canada, and a few other countries, and Gonzo streaming them worldwide without subtitles. So that's how they get around all those licensing issues.
Interesting.
The first 3 episodes of each anime are available for the next 2 months, and subsequent episodes will be added every few days, starting with Ragnarok, then Witchblade, and finally Burst Angel. The first episodes of Madhouse's anime adaptations of Marvel's Blade and X-Men franchises also began streaming this week on Sony's Throwback Toons YouTube channel. Apparently no love for the Iron Man anime, which I really enjoyed. Horror manga creator Kazuo Umetsu of The Drifting Classroom revealed last week he's preparing to launch a new project in January, his first new work in 26 years. He's been working for 4 years on this project and described it as an incredible work. Once you get your first glance at it, you won't be able to escape. End quote. I'm sure.
Make out your checks now.
Exactly, yes.
Money, gold, drop it off right here. It'll be awesome.
Fingers crossed.
Bambi and Godzilla. Ah, damn it! You fooled us again.
So yeah, I'm curious where that will go. If you want a fun photo, Google Kazuo Umetsu and look at his Wikipedia page. Yeah, he's done a lot of stuff. He's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25 manga titles on his Wikipedia page. To give you an idea, and his last one was, ended in 1995.
Wow.
So good for him, and there have been at least seven different adaptations of his into film or TV, and anime as well.
Nice.
Nakome Kozo was an anime adaptation of his work, which Cat-Eyed Boy is the English title of that, apparently.
Not sure I've ever had a remote idea what that was.
Yeah. That's all the news for this week. Thanks for watching. See you all next week. And it always confuses me because, let's see here. Yasuomi Umetsu is the director of Kite and Mezzo Forte and all that stuff. And I always get that. I always think it's that Umetsu.
Thank you for saying that. I was like, huh?
Yeah. Really? Yeah. Nani? No.
Mm-hmm. It's that's boy. Somebody actually posted on Twitter a scene from Kite or Kite, the most dramatic anime fall ever, which is where Sawa takes it. I'm not going to get it all right, but she assassinates this guy. They both go off a roof. She gets on top of him, and then they hit. How did it work? They go down 40 stories. And then they hit a roof.
Yes.
They hit it. They hit a tarp, and then a roof, and then a car. A car, and the car hits a bus. The bus goes through the concrete.
Goes into a hole. She lives through the whole thing.
Yeah, and she gets thrown off through a window. And then you see all this, and then it cuts to her she's laying on a bed, she happens to be thrown through a window onto a bed. It's just the most insane moment ever in anime. It's great.
Yes.
Wow.
Oh, wonderful! In a very dark movie.
Yeah.
Doesn't get that ending, but yeah, that is that. That's a great question, Jay. What did happen this week in anime history? Let's talk about that. There are a few things. There are several things this week in anime history. As I adjust and move a little bit, so we can talk about that. Let's do that real quick. Welcome to This Week in Anime History, where I talk about things that happened this week in anime history. Starting with the Great Kanto earthquake, September 1st, 1923. Worth mentioning, a devastating earthquake that hit the Kanto region of Japan and leveled large swaths of the cities. Pretty much every work of animation made up to that point burned in the Great Kanto earthquake and was destroyed. Some scraps have since been recovered and some copies of things, but absolutely devastating. If you've seen The Wind Rises, there's a scene in that movie which recreates the Great Kanto earthquake and how amazing and tragic it was. It is also partly responsible for the adoption of Western fashion in Japan, because so many women and children could not run to safety in time. In the more restrictive, in kimonos and such. And so there was a big drive to change to Western clothing as a result of the Great Kanto earthquake. Moving on to slightly more upbeat history. September 4th, 1963 saw the premiere of Hermit Village. This was the first late night anime ever. It aired slightly before midnight, starting at September 1st. And of September 4th, rather. And it was a rather risque manga at the time. And quite, it's basically about a group of Sennin Buraku, also what it's called. It is about a small Edo period village populated by Taoist ascetics. The eldest researches magic and alchemy, while his disciple is more interested in the more physical aspects of human existence, and he rather gets around. There's a lot of fun stuff around that. It is also technically the longest running comic with only one artist in Japanese history. Ran weekly from October 1956 to August 2014.
Wow.
Yeah. Which is darn impressive. Ko Kojima was the mangaka behind that, and there was an anime adaptation of that, 15 minutes long, and very hard to find, obviously, but yeah, that is that was technically the earliest thing. I'm just checking out something real quick. Nope, never mind. Otherwise, also, in the month of September, we're not quite sure exactly when, 1972, Studio Sunrise was founded.
Ooh, oh, yeah.
Makers of Gundam and many other mecha series and other shows as well. Very well respected anime studio, and founded by some ex-Tezuka employees who wanted a more democratic studio to work for, a somewhat less autocratic leader in there, which is why...
For some reason, I thought you were going to say ex-Yazuka, but...
Not quite. Yeah, he wasn't that bad.
Tezuka, not Yazuka.
Yeah, there we go. Which is why pretty much every Sunrise anime has a credit created by Hajime Yatate. And you'll see that in the credits for most Sunrise anime, which is an alias that basically means all of us. So they always reference in their anime that it is a collective effort of creation there at Sunrise. Very, very, very nice. That is what happened this week in anime history. See you next week. Oh yeah, I get to talk about something I like as well.
Ha ha.
And one of these days, I'm going to get you guys to talk about something you like as well.
That could be dangerous.
Oh yeah.
We'll see.
That segment will go on forever.
Well, you know.
Legend of the
Let me talk to you about the tentacles I love.
It's it is past 10.
Yes, it is.
No.
Almost 11.
Almost.
I need to
Brent
forward a little bit. I've done it before. Am I gonna? Okay, that's fine. I have a fan sub of this, but whatever.
Oh my!
And, you'll just see the fan subber name in there, but whatever.
It's not piracy; it's love.
Welcome to Brent's Anime Recommendation Corner, where I talk about anime that I love, much like the fan subbers do. The Record of Lodoss War, original OVA.
Wow.
Yeah. This is a, dare I say, generic fantasy anime series. In the sense that the creators of this very much want to give you the classic anime experience. It is dragons and people with swords and hot elves and all the things that you might expect from a series like this. You can get Tiamat there in the background. And just kind of all the things, all of the tropes, all the time. And the reason is, this is based on an RPG campaign, a tabletop RPG campaign.
A D&D campaign.
Yeah, technically not D&D. To be clear, it's one of those things where as close to D&D as you can get without it being D&D, basically. But it's technically it's a different system. But if you think D&D, you got it. And it was a bunch of basically anime creators and writers and so forth who were working on this. Funnily enough, one of the players decided, we tell a story of this, and so he actually serialized it in, I think, a tabletop role-playing magazine, as like a campaign diary. Here's what happened kind of this week, and he kind of fictionalized it. And that got hugely popular, and so it kind of got adapted as time went on. This became a common thing. There's quite a few anime and manga that were originally serialized as these sort of these stories. And so, again, it is very generic elves and dwarves fantasy. But that's part of its charm, frankly, is that it is all of those things ramped up to 11, with all the lightning strikes, and you have your rogue who's all scarred, and your cleric, and your hot elf, and all that kind of good stuff, your priest, and good old Deedlit. Ironically, bards, the male writer played Deedlit, the hot female elf, in the campaign. Which is one of the reasons why Deedlit features so heavily in the anime, by the way, because it's literally the writer's character. But
go figure that.
Go figure that, exactly.
Imagine.
And granted, Deedlit became a very, very popular character at the time.
No doubt.
Yeah, hot elf.
Fanboys. Yeah.
Yes, with giant shoulder pads.
Yes.
She loves her armor.
Massive tracts of shoulders.
Record of Lodoss War is very much sort of standard Tolkien-esque fantasy, presented writ large in classic anime format in this 90s OVA. It sometimes suffers from the fact that it was a D&D campaign kind of transcribed out, because that was part of its appeal. Is that people were experiencing D&D campaign, much like Critical Role. If you're familiar with that these days, a big publicized, live play of a D&D campaign. People were enjoying seeing how the plot kind of bounced around to different things and kind of explored things. So there is literally a moment in the Record of Lodoss War OVA when they've dealt with kind of the first main plot line. They're all standing around like a lake chatting. A carriage careens up to them, crashes next to them. The driver collapses on the ground, goes up and goes, "You must save the princess!"
Wow.
It's like the DM not being subtle there in that moment.
What do you guys want to do next? We just want to talk.
Exactly.
No, you need to. Well, fine. Sure. You want to talk there? Sure.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. You hear the sound of a carriage approaching. So yeah, it's there are moments like that. But again, it's part of the charm. It's part of the fun of watching it. So if you understand that origin, you'll kind of get a lot of how the plot goes, and some things kind of come out of nowhere. There's a change in character where you're like, oh, the player stopped playing that character. Okay, gotcha. All right, that's what happened there. Okay, understood. You know, that's why they went away and suddenly came back as an NPC villain. Okay, understood. But great fun, and again, very much in that classic 90s anime style. Budget is kind of varies. There's some really well-crafted animation here. And I really love the camera angles and the use of just kind of inventive angles for the camera, and how that's used to add tension or subtract from tension. A lot of darkness in here visually, a lot of dark shadows and such, and things to really add to that without making it feel like it's just everything has a grimy filter over it. And just a really, really fun fantasy adventure all the way through. And it does come to a big ending, big climax in the end. Lotus War is popular. There are at least 2 other anime series set in the Lotus universe. Legend of Crystania, the movie, and Rune Soldier Louis, a screwball comedy set in the Lotus War universe. Which that's a trip.
Soldier Louis.
Rune Soldier Louis, yes. AKA Rune Soldier. But yes, so Lotus War, again, if you're looking for kind of a classic fantasy anime aesthetic, this is exactly what you'll get. And just be great fun. Rune Soldier Louis does not appear to be from Lotus, the Lotus universe. Because I watch it as a generic fantasy anime, and then halfway through, a character steps off a boat, and somebody says, "How are you doing?" She says, "Oh, I'm fine. I'm just back from Lotus Island." I'm like, "What?" And then Google, and they're like, "Oh yeah, it's based on like a series of novels that spun off that they, side story kind of a thing." But yeah, Lotus is big in Japan. In fact, I think there's now a Lotus. I think they made a Lotus RPG, tabletop RPG. Specifically for Lotus War. Not too surprising.
Okay.
Another one I'm going to have to add to the list.
Rune Soldier is a lot of fun. And Rune Soldier is kind of playing around with D&D tropes as well, and kind of fantasy tropes and such. I guess more like anime fantasy tropes. Like you have the absurdly over-muscled barbarian girl who's like, 8 feet tall and wears a bikini, and has a giant sword strapped to her back. All that kind of stuff.
Death by Snooze Tube? No. What? That's a Futurama reference.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's right.
The spirit is willing, but the flesh is
And spongy.
Yes, I've seen that episode. Yes,
Yes.
Very much that. Yes. And the cute cat girl. No, it's not a cat girl, but cute short girl rogue archetype who's very money oriented. But anyway, a lot of fun. I have a question.
What did we learn on the show tonight, Brian?
On the show tonight, Brian.
Well, Steve, are you going to the prom?
I'm thinking about it.
I can't believe I can get a date.
I can just pop this in and it'll be fine.
I'm fine. I got my clear cell. It's okay.
Oh, those
I
days.
learned that benzoyl peroxide works for
Hey,
everything.
buddy.
Triggered, man. Oh. Those days. I'm sad. I learned I can be saddened by memories of Clearasil.
Aren't we all?
Indeed.
Those days of misspent youth, I tell you.
Off of Clarissa.
Youth is wasted on the young.
Precisely.
I learned that Lain is Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
That was great, Steve. Like, dang. I learned that, gosh, I love Lain. We all love Lain.
Let's all love Lain.
Let's all love Lain. Let's all love Lain. Let's all love Lain.
Let's all love Lain.
And
in the present day, in the present time.
And I learned that Tomino is still kicking, and will continue kicking for a long time. I think he's just doing his thing, which I love. I've also Jay has also learned that we need a Lain crossover with JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, which I agree with.
Oh my god!
Especially
Lane's Bizarre Adventure.
Yep. On ice.
Why?
The costuming will be glorious.
Yes, it will.
Can we make Lain an idol?
Ah, good question. Yes.
Where she sings on ice?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
Yep. Behold my stand Lain. I mean, Dr. Airy is basically a JoJo's character. Just for them, just to begin with.
Just give him a stand and he's fine. Well,
Yep.
he already has a stand.
Yeah,
He's
exactly.
fine.
Yeah.
So, there you go.
His stand is all the tentacle things coming out. Anyway,
Boy.
John, how about you?
I've learned I can have my mind blown twice, like month to month. So I've learned that yes, Lain. Wow, that is an element of Lain, Steve, that I had not considered. So thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Brent, for blowing my mind with Buddhism, and thank you, Steve, for blowing my mind with Christianity. Awesome. Power of Christ compels.
Power of Lain.
Yes, because we all love Lain. And I want you guys to see the live action Cowboy Bebop so bad because I want to know your opinion on it. So I've learned that this, again, if it's done well, this could be another wonderful thing where anime is like bringing us, all together, all going forward. And please, you guys see this so that you can tell me whether I should cry or shout to the heavens, hallelujah. And that there's not enough time for all of everything that we need to do and get done and watch and see and enjoy. I've learned that. That's what I've learned. Steve?
Well, I learned.
Let me get out the bill.
Well.
Let's. Now I've learned that there's Kabuki and Gasuraki.
Yeah. Or possibly no. I'm not sure.
Or no. Or Jesus.
An interpretive dance.
Yes.
Dance.
There
It's
literally
the entire
is.
series through interpretive dance.
My aunt did that.
Gasaraki, the interpretive dance? How forward of her.
One Grecian urn. Two Grecian.
So your aunt was the count from Sesame Street.
No, she did the
One
interpretive,
Grecian urn.
the interpretive dance actually of the Bible. That's what she did.
Oh,
for
just
her
sure.
church.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So,
The whole
she-
Bible or just like a
just
certain
whatever the
section?
sermon was. That week.
Okay.
So she
Okay.
she created this. She would create this dance, and that's something she did for a couple of years. So it was kind of
Now part of our 557 part series of
right.
interpretive dance of the entire Bible.
And now the Song of Solomon. Whoa.
Oh no.
Holy.
No. I've also learned that I really thought my Oshi moment was a little off base, but apparently not. But
On the nose.
yeah, thank you. Believe me, when I had that moment, I was just like going, "Oh God, I don't really want to watch the egg again. Please don't make yourself do this." I've learned that it's always nice to be random in your selection
Mm-hmm.
of what you watch.
Yep.
What you watch,
Yep.
and you can find really, really new things. And one thing that I have not done, which Brent, you keep talking about, which I feel compelled to watch now, is Anne of Green Gables. And the last thing I think I learned was that I don't know if I'm ready for Ash.
Fair.
I mean, I'll
Is
do
anybody ever ready for living alien?
Yeah.
Ever?
Ever. I mean, I'm gonna have to, because we can't show it here, obviously, because it's YouTube. But I feel like after we go through the movies, I'm gonna have to find the complete AMV, the complete Evangelion Redeath, and play that whole thing for you. It's basically the original Evangelion series into about 90-minute format.
Okay.
And it's fan subbed, and it's
Nice.
meant to be a parody. It's meant to be a parody.
Okay.
So, because we're gonna need something, I feel like we're gonna need something like to watch after we watch this. But the
Martian
last
successor Nadeshko.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the
Ooh,
whole counter.
actually,
that's
yeah.
the
that's true.
counteraction to Evangelion.
Yeah. It's true.
And actually, the
it's a
last
great
thing I
idea.
learned tonight,
Yeah.
from the Daily News, is that it would appear, having never met the man, that I am fairly certain that if I were to get into a passionate discussion with Tamino on something, that he would probably kick my front teeth out. And that is what I've learned as well.
Okay, fair enough. I'm going to throw something out here right now. I vote, after our break for Otakon and Gen Con, we come back and we start watching Anne of Green Gables.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
what we
And
watch. Holy
But
cow.
not that we have to watch the entire thing, but that we start watching Anne of Green Gables and we watch like 3 episodes a week, and then when we watch like enough of it, we're like, okay, got it, good, we're good. We can then move on to something else. And we can just have that Anne of Green Gables break.
Yeah, but I don't know if I can do that without being complete. I don't know if I can just. I don't know if I can watch a part of it and not watch the
Well,
whole.
you can. Once we get to that final stop, then you can go off and watch the rest of it if you want to.
Like I did
But
with
the point
Blue Water.
Nadia, right.
Nadia, a Blue Water.
Nadia.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
That's fair enough.
Okay.
Fair enough.
Okay.
Fair enough.
Let's give it a go.
Okay, cool. I think that'll be a fun thing for us to dig into, and it's light overall, but with some interesting
Right.
moments. And it'll be a.
More or less than Heidi.
I've only seen one episode of Heidi, and I would say the same.
Okay.
The same. Because here's the thing, Anne is. Here I go again. No, wait. Pulling back.
Step away from Anne. Wow. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
Sorry. Heidi is younger, like physically, than Anne is.
Right.
And so Heidi is more just enjoying her life and enjoying the world. Has a very much that young child, just whatever happens, and things are kind of bouncing off of me. Anne
Right.
processes a little bit more. she's aware of her surroundings. She's able to feel things.
More protagonist.
Exactly,
than-
and
reactionist.
more active. Exactly. So there's a bit more of that, but this is basically the story of Anne, kind of finding her happiness and finding her satisfaction and getting her happy life after her more difficult, early childhood.
Fair
And
enough.
I will say the endings. I mean, I haven't gotten to the ending of the anime, but the ending of the show is sad. I will just say that it ends on a note. But I will say, because heck, I don't think this is a spoiler because it's a classic book. I think I had mentioned this at one point. The final line of Anne of Green Gables is Anne saying, "God's in His heaven, all's right with the world."
Which we've seen that line used other places.
That's the final line of that book. So yes.
Wow.
But I don't think
That's as Anne takes off on a starship on an intergalactic journey, leaving behind her husband and small child.
Yeah, when she goes to Otaku Land,
Exactly.
And flies up. I think you'll find Anne very uplifting. I'll put it that way.
Okay.
Yeah. Cool. So again, OnCon next week. Close. I need to stop naming things so they sound like other things.
Give it time. It will be as big as Otakon.
We have plans. We have ideas. OnCon next week should be a lot of fun. Starting at noon Eastern time here on YouTube. Hope to see you all there. Thank you all so much. As always, we will see you all next week.
Arigatou gozaimasu.
Yes, bye-bye.
Oyasumi nasai.